funny. I own this
Undercover
hotel.
black
Get out of here right
CEO
now.
rejected
Sir,
at
please
his
calm
own
down.
hotel
Ma'am,
minutes.
we need to handle this professionally.
Later, he
How dare you
replaced
come
the
in here?
entire
I want him
staff.
removed immediately.
Hello, everyone. Before we begin today's video,
This is
I
an
need your
absolute
help.
outrage. I
We've
demand
noticed
you
that the
stop this
channel is
nonsense
losing
immediately.
traction,
You have no
and
right
subscribing
here.
is one
He
of the
stole
best
it.
ways
It's
you
right
can
there in his
help
bag. I
us.
saw him.
It's
I assure
quick,
you, I did not take
free,
anything.
and
This is
allows
mine.
us to continue bringing
You
you
think that
great
little card means
content.
something?
Your
Get out of my
support
way
means
before I have you
everything.
removed.
Let's keep this channel growing
Mr.
collectively.
Williams, who are you wearing
Where are
tonight?
you watching from?
Keep moving,
Drop
gentlemen.
your
Clear the
city
aisle.
or country in the
Look over here,
comments
sir.
below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to the story. Leave now before I call the cops. Her voice ripped across the marble lobby with enough force to make half the guests turn. The echo bounced off the gold-trimmed pillars, sharp and humiliating, landing squarely on the man she was pointing at, a black man in a plain gray t-shirt, dark jeans, a cap pulled low, and a backpack slung over one shoulder. He didn't move. Didn't flinch. Didn't even blink. He just stood there, arms crossed loosely over his chest, gaze steady, the kind of stillness that made the outburst look even worse. Security stepped in fast, one hand pressing against his shoulder, palm flat, ready to push him backward if he dared breathe wrong. Around them, people reacted the only way modern witnesses do, phones up, recording, whispering, waiting. The manager, tan suit, hair pulled into a tight knot, eyes blazing, leaned forward until she was a foot from his face. "You heard me," she snapped, jabbing a finger toward his chest. "You're not allowed to wander in here. This hotel has standards, and you are not meeting them." He looked at her finger first, then at her face, slow, controlled, unmoved. Behind the counter, two receptionists froze. The bellhop swallowed hard. A businessman in a navy suit mouthed "wow" as he lifted his phone even higher. But the black man remained silent, utterly silent, the kind of silence that makes the aggressor louder, uglier, more exposed. The manager's voice rose again, sharper, desperate to fill the space his calm created. "Don't pretend you didn't hear me. You don't belong here, so let's make this easy. Walk out on your own before I have security drag you out." Security's grip tightened, fingers pressing into his upper arm. He glanced at the guard, not annoyed, not afraid, just acknowledging the pressure, then returned his focus to the manager. The room held its breath. "Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe dignity deserves a voice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change. And we're glad you're here. Now, back to him." She stepped closer, so close her perfume mixed with the lobby's polished wood scent. "Last warning," she hissed. "You have 10 seconds to walk out." He finally uncrossed his arms. Slowly, deliberately, not a reaction, a choice. The security guard stiffened, shifting his stance. Phones zoomed in. The lobby went quiet enough to hear the soft hum of the chandelier above them. The black man's voice arrived, calm, quiet, almost gentle, but stronger than her shouting. "Before you count," he said, "are you certain you want to finish this conversation?" The manager blinked. Confusion slipped through her anger. "Excuse me?" He tilted his head just slightly. Emotion so subtle yet so confident that the entire crowd felt the shift. "I'm asking," he repeated, "are you absolutely certain?" A murmur rippled behind them. Someone whispered, "He's too calm. This is about to flip." But she didn't hear the warning. Or didn't care. She stepped even closer, finger trembling with fury. "Yes, I'm certain." And that was the moment. She lost the story. For a second, the entire lobby held still, like someone had pressed pause. Right after she declared she was certain. The marble floor reflected the tension, the chandelier lights flickering in the shine as if reacting to the shift. The black man stood centered in it all, hands relaxed now at his sides, shoulders steady, posture perfectly still. Security didn't like that stillness. He adjusted his stance, tightening his grip again on the man's arm as if calm was somehow more threatening than chaos. The manager didn't notice. Or maybe she couldn't. She was fueled by something stronger than reason. Assumption. "I told you to leave," she barked, voice echoing again. "This hotel is private property. We reserve the right to refuse service, especially to people who—" She cut herself off, but the pause was louder than any insult. Across the lobby, someone whispered, she was about to say something racist. Another, "She hasn't even asked his name." Still, the man said nothing. He just watched her. Not with anger, not with fear, but with a quiet kind of endurance born from too many moments like this. The manager mistook his silence for weakness. "Security!" she snapped. Escort him out. Now. Aye. The guard nodded and put both hands on the man's shoulders, pushing with more force than before. Not enough to cause a scene, but enough to show dominance. Cameras zoomed in. A businessman smirked. A young couple backed away as if the man being pushed was dangerous just by existing. He didn't resist. His feet slid half an inch across the polished floor, but he stayed rooted, absorbing the pressure without shifting his stance. Ma'am, a voice said suddenly. It came from behind the manager, a young employee in a navy vest, holding a tablet, eyes anxious. Maybe we should check his... No. The manager shot back before he could finish. No check? No conversation? He isn't a guest. The employee flinched as if slapped. The man in gray finally tilted his head, just enough to acknowledge the young staff member's courage. It wasn't gratitude. It was recognition. Security pushed again. This time, the man raised a single hand, not to fight, not to block, but to request space. A simple gesture, but it carried weight. Don't touch him, someone from the crowd muttered. Another, this is going too far. Still, the manager marched closer, stopping only inches from his face. You had your chance, she hissed. Now you're trespassing, and you're about to be removed. He breathed in slowly, a calm inhale that steadied the whole room. Only then did he speak, voice low even, and sharper than her shouting. You're making decisions without information. She scoffed. I don't need information. Silence. Deadly, revealing silence. Around them, people exchanged looks. A woman murmured, that line right there, that's gonna haunt her. Security straightened his radio as if waiting for her command. The manager raised a hand to give it, but the black man lifted his chin slightly, just slightly, and said the sentence that made the air drop 10 degrees, then you're not qualified to manage this property. Her face twisted. Excuse me? He didn't repeat it. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to, because every camera caught the moment she realized she still didn't know who she was talking to. And that ignorance was about to cost her everything. The manager froze for a beat, not because she understood, but because no one had ever spoken to her that calmly while she was mid-tirade. Not qualified? She snapped, voice rising. You walk in here dressed like this, loitering in the lobby, refusing to leave, escalating with security. And you have the nerve to question my qualifications? Her words ricocheted off the marble walls, each one sharper than the last. The black man stayed completely still. Phones lifted higher. A cluster of guests drifted closer, pretending to check in but clearly watching. The security guard tried once more to push him back. No progress. Not because the man resisted, but because his presence was immovable. The manager mistook that for defiance. Sir, she spat the word like an insult. I don't know what game you're playing, but it won't work here. We run a luxury establishment, high-value clientele. Not. She cut herself off again, too close to saying what she really meant. A gasp came from someone filming. Finish your sentence, a woman from the crowd murmured. But the manager didn't dare. Instead, she doubled down. You are disrupting hotel operations. You are intimidating my staff. You are refusing to follow lawful directions. That is grounds for removal. The man raised one eyebrow. A souple question, a controlled challenge. Intimidation? He echoed quietly. His tone wasn't mocking. It was reflective, like he was analyzing the structure of her accusation and finding every hole in it. The employee with the tablet from earlier spoke up again, hesitant. Ma'am, maybe we should at least... Not another word, she snapped, silencing him. He shrank back, eyes filled with apology. Not for the manager, but for the man she was targeting. The black man shifted his stance at last. A small movement, a shift of weight, a grounding, and with it, the lobby's energy slid further toward him. The manager didn't feel the shift, but everyone else did. A tourist whispered to his partner, he's not scared at all. Partner, he doesn't look like a trespasser. He looks like... They didn't finish, but the implication hung heavy. The manager began pacing, agitation leaking through her movements. You think you can intimidate your way into a room? Dress down, act disruptive, scare the staff? I've seen this before. People coming in trying to scam upgrades, threaten lawsuits. Well, not today. He exhaled slowly, as if granting her the floor one last time. Then came her fatal mistake. She pointed to his backpack. That bag? Security will search it. Right here. Right now. The security guard hesitated. That's against policy. We can only search with consent. Do it, she ordered. Phones jerked upward. Guests gasped. Hotel staff exchanged horrified looks. She had crossed a line. The black man finally looked down at his backpack, not with fear, but with the quiet disappointment of someone watching mediocrity unfold. He lifted his eyes back to hers. You are making assumptions, he said softly, and violating policy based on those assumptions. She scoffed. You don't get to lecture me on policy. A small smile touched the corner of his mouth. Not amusement, but inevitability. That, he said, is exactly the problem. The lobby fell silent again. Somewhere in that silence, someone whispered, he knows the policy better than she does. And in her refusal to see it, she proved him right. The lobby felt charged now, like every chandelier bulb was holding its breath, waiting for the moment something snapped. The manager was pacing in tight circles, fury spiraling with each step. The security guard hovered beside the black man, unsure whether to obey her or obey protocol, torn between orders and common sense. But the manager didn't give him time to think. He refuses to cooperate, she yelled toward the front desk. He's escalating. I need him removed now. The receptionist flinched. Everyone could hear the desperation in her voice. Not strength, not authority, but the panic of someone losing control in front of an audience. A few guests murmured. That's not escalation. He hasn't said more than 2 sentences. She's spiraling. This is going to look really bad on camera. Still, the black man stood in the exact same spot. Hands loose, posture steady, eyes clear. His calm made her looter. This is trespassing, she declared. You are a threat to my staff. That was when her hand darted out. She grabbed his backpack strap. Tight, aggressive, jerking it upward as if to rip it off him. Gasps erupted across the lobby. Whoa! She can't touch him. What is she doing? The security guard stepped forward instinctively, not sure whether to restrain her or him. His hand landed on the black man's forearm, gripping harder than before, as if the backpack tug had signaled danger. Phone zoomed in. A tourist whispered, "This just crossed into lawsuit territory." Another said, "He still hasn't touched anyone. This is all her." The black man didn't move, didn't yank back, didn't defend himself. He simply spoke, calm as a measured heartbeat. "Take your hand off my property." The manager froze, grip still tight around the strap. Her breath hitched, a flash of uncertainty breaking through the mask of authority she'd been wearing. But pride pushed her further. "No," she snapped. "You don't dictate anything here. This bag will be inspected, and you will leave." The security guard swallowed. "Ma'am, we can't force I said do it." Her voice cracked through the lobby like a whip, echoing off marble and glass. A child near the elevators jumped. A couple backed away. Even the security guard flinched, but the black man remained still. So still it made the entire confrontation look unbalanced, as if she were shouting into a void that refused to echo back. Slowly, deliberately, he lifted his eyes to hers. "I'm giving you one chance," he said quietly. "Remove your hand." It wasn't a threat. It was a boundary. A final one. The manager laughed. A brittle, nervous sound. "You don't get to give me chances, you're—" But before she finished, one of the guests, an older woman with silver hair, stepped forward and said loudly enough for every phone to catch it. "He's been calmer than all of you. He's the only professional one here." The lobby shifted. A weight moved. Perspective flipped. The manager's hand trembled on the strap. Security loosened his grip. Someone whispered, "It's turning. This is where things change." And the man simply waited. His silence louder than her shouting, his presence heavier than her authority, because everyone could feel it now. She wasn't in control anymore. Not of the lobby, not of the narrative, not even of herself. And the moment she let go, or refused to, would decide everything that came next. The manager's fingers were still locked around the strap of his backpack, knuckles white, breath uneven, and every phone in the lobby was capturing her grip like it was evidence sealed in glass. The black man didn't break eye contact with her. He didn't look down. He didn't watch her hand tremble. He simply waited. And that waiting made everyone else start moving. A young woman near the velvet lounge seat stepped forward first. Black, mid-20 seconds. Confidence quiet but unmistakable. Phone raised. Voice steady. "Ma'am," she said, "you're grabbing a guest." The manager whipped her head around. "A guest? He's not a guest. Look at him." He wandered in off the street. The woman's eyebrows lifted sharply. And you know that because? The manager blinked, mouth opening but no answer forming fast enough. A second witness joined, a man in a business blazer, badge clipped to his bag, clearly a frequent traveler. She didn't check his ID, he said to the crowd, loud enough for the mics on everyone's phones. She didn't ask for a reservation name. She didn't check the system. She just assumed. The word, assumed, hung in the air like a verdict. Someone in the back muttered, "Yeah, she didn't even look at the computer." Another whispered, "This is profiling straight up." The manager's face flushed red, then pale, then red again. She tightened her grip on the backpack like it was the last thread of authority she had left. "Everyone needs to back up," she ordered. "This is a security matter. The hotel is liable if—" "No," the young woman cut in. "You're liable if you keep grabbing him." Camera zoomed closer. Crowd edges swelled as more guests stepped in, not aggressively but purposefully. A tightening circle of witnesses replacing her narrative with a new one. The security guard swallowed hard. His eyes darted from the manager to the witnesses, to the hand gripping the strap. Then he did something small, but irreversible. He released his hold on the black man's arm, not dramatically, just opened his fingers and stepped back half a pace. And that half step said everything. The manager noticed. "Why did you move? I told you to restrain him." The guard shook his head slowly. "Ma'am, he hasn't resisted once, and we can't search his bag without consent." The young woman added. "He shouldn't even be touched." "Exactly," the man in the blazer said. "He's the calm one. We are the witnesses. You are the problem." The lobby reaction hit like a wave. Faces shifting, phones angling, quiet gasps, murmurs of agreement. The manager's breathing quickened. "Stop filming. This is a private establishment." A guest called back. "It was private until you started yelling in front of 50 people. "Oh," someone else chimed in. "And grabbing him? That made it public." The manager's eyes darted wildly, realizing the story had slipped from her grasp and fallen squarely into theirs. And still, the black man hadn't moved. Not an inch. Not a twitch. His voice, when it came, was soft enough to make everyone lean in. "This isn't a misunderstanding," he said. "This is a pattern." The manager turned slowly toward him. "What pattern?" He didn't answer. Not yet, because the crowd had answered for him. The crowd's voices settled into a low, electric hum. Not chaos, not panics, but a collective awareness that the moment had changed direction. The manager finally released the strap of his backpack, fingers uncurling slowly, as if she realized only now what she had been gripping. Her hand hung midair for a beat before she snatched it back, hiding it behind her clipboard like a child caught breaking something fragile. The black man adjusted his backpack not defensively, not nervously, but with a smooth, deliberate motion that told everyone he was reclaiming his space. The shift was subtle, yet it felt like the lobby's center of gravity had moved. The manager tried to recover her footing. I'm doing my job," she stammered, smoothing her suit jacket. "This hotel is responsible for safety." He refused to comply with standard procedure. "What procedure?" The young woman cut in sharply. "The one where you judge guests by clothes?" Murr. The lobby rippled with agreement. The manager's lips tightened, but before she could fire back, the black man finally took one step forward. Just one. But that step landed like a gavel. Security straightened. Guests instinctively parted, forming a natural aisle. Phones steadied, sensing the moment that would define the video. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't puff his chest. He didn't switch into arrogance. He simply spoke like someone used to being listened to. "You've accused me," he began, "of trespassing, of disrupting your staff, of threatening the safety of your hotel." The manager folded her arms, trying to regain authority. "And you have." He held her gaze, not confrontational, not angry. Just solid. "What part of my behavior suggests that?" She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. The room waited. He continued. "I walked in calmly. I stood in line. I waited to be acknowledged. You never asked my name. You never checked the system. Instead, you escalated with assumptions." "A murmur, a camera zoom," someone whispered. "He's building a case." The manager's throat bobbed. "Well, we have policies." "Then follow them." The sentence struck with such clarity that a few guests actually exhaled. Security nodded before he could stop himself. She didn't follow intake protocol." The manager snapped toward him. Whose side are you on? He lowered his voice. The legal one. A sharp intake of breath fluttered through the crowd. The black man turned slightly, addressing the room without raising his volume. Everyone here saw what happened. You watched my behavior. You watched hers. You know which of us escalated. The young woman lowered her phone just enough to show her respect. Yes, we do. The manager's voice thinned. You can't come in here demanding special treatment. He shook his head. I didn't demand anything. I didn't say a word until you grabbed me. Silence again. Heavy, decisive, unavoidable. She backed up one step. Tiny, involuntary, telling, and that's when he reached for his pocket. Slowly, deliberately, zero aggression. Security tensed, but the man raised a calming hand without looking at him. I'm going to show you something, he said quietly, so you can understand the weight of the decisions you've made today. The young woman whispered, oh, this is it. The crowd leaned forward as he withdrew. A slim black leather pouch with gold lining. Elegant, understated, corporate. The kind of object only very few people carry, and only one person in this lobby understood the significance of it. He tapped the pouch lightly against his palm, then he looked the manager dead in the eyes. You should pay attention now. The lobby snapped into absolute silence, because everyone could feel it. The reveal was coming. The black leather pouch rested in his hand like a quiet threat. Not loud, not flashy, but heavy in the way truth is heavy right before it drops. The manager eyed it with suspicion. What is that, some kind of ID? Because if you think... He opened it. Just a few inches. Just enough. A slim metallic card slid into view. Matte black with a reflective gold edge. Minimalist but unmistakably executive. No name visible. No need. The moment that gold trim caught the lobby lights, a hush rolled through the room like a wave. A guest whispered, "Oh, he's somebody." A second added, "That's not a regular membership card." The manager blinked twice, stepping back half a step, a tiny retreat, but a visible one. What? What is that supposed to be? Her voice had lost its sharp edge. It cracked around the vowels. He held the card between two fingers, steady, deliberate. Something, he said. You should have seen before deciding I didn't belong here. The manager sputtered. I don't have time for theatrics. This doesn't prove anything. Anyone can buy a fancy card. A quiet laugh came from one of the employees behind her. Not mocking. More like someone who suddenly understood the size of the mistake unfolding. The young woman witness stepped closer, eyes narrowing. That's not a card you buy. That's corporate level. The man in the blazer nodded. Executive tier, maybe higher. The manager's throat tightened. Her eyes bounced from the card to his face, to the crowd, then back to the card. He watched her process it, then delivered the sentence that pierced the last illusion she was holding. This is an owner access credential. She froze. No breath, no blink. Just absolute icy stillness. Then very slowly, as if her brain was buffering through shock, she said, "Owner of what?" He didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He didn't need victory to taste sweet. He simply answered like someone stating the weather. This property. Gasps snapped through the lobby. The receptionist slapped a hand over her mouth. Security's shoulders dropped. A bellhop whispered, "No way." The older woman who had defended him earlier nodded. I knew it. The manager's knees wobbled, but pride forced her upright. That can't be. You don't look. She stopped herself too late. Every phone caught it. Every witness heard it. And the black man let the moment sit there, exposed, undeniable. Then he closed the pouch with a soft, final click. I wasn't asking for special treatment, he said. I wasn't even asking for recognition. He stepped closer, not aggressively, just enough to reclaim the space she had invaded. I asked for basic respect. You denied me that before you asked a single question. The manager tried to speak, but her voice fractured. I didn't know. He nodded once. That's exactly the issue. Silence folded over the lobby like velvet. The reveal was complete. Not shouted, not forced, just truth, delivered cleanly. And for the first time since this began, everyone knew exactly who held the real authority in the room. The lobby no longer felt like hers. It felt like his. The manager stood frozen, eyes wide, breathing sharp and uneven as though her body was trying to catch up to a reality her pride refused to accept. Owner? She whispered again, as if the word itself cut her throat. The man didn't confirm. He didn't need to. Everyone else had done that for him. The security guard stepped back fully now. arms lowering from a defensive stance into something closer to respect. His voice was careful, level. "Sir, I apologize. I didn't know." The black man nodded once. A silent acknowledgement, not forgiveness, not condemnation, just clarity. The manager stumbled for an explanation. I was following procedure. You were standing in the lobby without checking in. You were dressed, casually, and you— "Stop," the young woman witness said sharply, lowering her phone. "You're digging a deeper hole." Another guest added, "He wasn't disruptive. You were." The manager spun toward them. "You don't understand. We get trespassers, people trying to sneak into the lounge, people pretending to be guests." "And how many of those people," the older woman asked, "looked like him?" The question landed like a slap. The manager's mouth opened and closed, no sound, no defense, just panic. Meanwhile, employees behind the counter straightened themselves like soldiers suddenly realigning under their true commander. One of them, a young man with sleeves rolled neatly to his elbows, spoke up with visible guilt. "Sir, we should have asked your name. We should have checked the system. That's on us." The black man turned his head slightly, meeting the employee's eyes. "Accountability matters," he said calmly. "And you're taking it." The employee exhaled, relief washing over him. The manager wasn't granted the same mercy. She stepped forward again, clinging to the only thing she had left, a shaking attempt at authority. "Sir, I need to clarify. I have run this lobby efficiently for years. I uphold standards, and this situation is a misunderstanding." "No," the young witness replied. "It's a pattern." The crowd murmured again. Security looked at the manager, finally seeing what the guests had seen all along. And then, the soft sound that sealed her downfall. A chime. An elevator. Two senior staff members stepping out, one in a navy blazer with a gold nameplate, the other holding a tablet with corporate access credentials. The assistant manager and the regional operations supervisor. They both froze when they saw him, then straightened instantly. "Sir," the supervisor said, voice respectful. "We came as soon as we were alerted." The manager's eyes darted between them. You know him?" The supervisor didn't look at her. He kept his gaze on the black man. "Yes," he said. "We report to him." The lobby erupted. Gasps, whispers, a few muffled curses of realization. The manager's face drained of color. She stepped back. Then again. Then again. Her collapse was silent, complete, and witnessed by every phone in the room. And the man, the one she tried to push out of his own hotel, simply stood there, calm as ever, letting the truth do what his voice never needed to. For a long moment, the lobby simply existed in silence. A vast, echoing quiet that made even the chandeliers seem to pulse slower. The manager stood pale and trembling, pressed against the edge of the counter as if the marble itself offered protection. The security guard lowered his eyes. Employees straightened their uniforms. Guests held their phones, but no one moved. Because now, the room waited for him. The black man let the stillness settle before he stepped forward, not aggressively, not triumphantly, but with a calm that felt like gravity finding its rightful place. He faced the manager first. "You made assumptions," he said quietly, "about my presence, about my intent, about my worth." She swallowed hard, looking anywhere but at him. "You never asked my name. You never checked your system. You decided who I was based on appearance." A murmur rippled across the crowd. He continued, voice even, not rising an inch. "And when you felt your assumptions slipping, you escalated. You grabbed me. You violated protocol. You created a scene that your staff, your guests, and your cameras all witnessed." Her eyes darted to the phones, the dozens of glowing screens recording her downfall. He shifted his attention to the room. "I didn't speak," he said. "Not because I didn't know how. Not because I was intimidated. I stayed silent because I wanted to see how far your assumptions would go." The older woman near the lounge nodded approvingly. The assistant manager and regional supervisor both stood straighter, listening like students in front of a master class. He turned slightly, taking in the entire lobby. "Respect is not a service you offer only when it's convenient," he said. "It is the foundation of hospitality. It is the foundation of leadership." The crowd held on every word. "And today," he added, "that foundation cracked." The manager let out a broken whisper. "Sir, I'm sorry." He didn't nod. He didn't soften. But he didn't humiliate her either. "An apology isn't the correction," he said. "Change is." The regional supervisor stepped forward, head lowered in acknowledgement. "We will begin a full internal review immediately, sir." He nodded. It was the first gesture of approval he'd given since stepping into the lobby. He turned back to the employees behind the desk. "You're not responsible for her choices, but you are responsible for what you do after witnessing them." Ugh. The young employee with the tablet swallowed, then said, "We'll do better, sir. Truly." He accepted that with a slight shift of his chin. He didn't need applause. He didn't need validation. He didn't need to raise his voice. His presence was the lesson, and everyone, from guests to staff, to the woman who had shouted at him, felt it. The young witness lowered her phone and breathed out slowly. "That," she said to no one in particular, "is what accountability looks like when it's done right." The black man didn't respond. He simply turned toward the elevator corridor, ready for what came next. And behind him, the lobby, the same lobby where he'd been treated like an intruder, now stood still in a silence that sounded a lot like respect. The lobby slowly resumed motion, but not the same motion as before. Not rushed, not chaotic. Measured, careful, corrected. Employees behind the counter straightened their ties, fixed their posture, spoke in softer tones as if they suddenly remembered where they worked and who they worked for. Guests lowered their phones, but continued watching the black man as he crossed the lobby, not out of curiosity, but out of respect earned in real time. The regional supervisor walked beside him, steps crisp. "Sir, we've secured a private meeting room if you prefer privacy before the review team arrives." "I don't need privacy," he replied. "I need accuracy." The supervisor nodded quickly, adjusting his tablet. Behind them, the assistant manager quietly directed staff to resume their duties, though their eyes stayed locked on him every few seconds, learning, recalibrating, reconsidering everything they'd thought about who belongs in their world. The manager, still standing near the counter, looked like she'd shrunk 2 sizes. Her hands shook. Her voice barely held together. "Sir, if there's anything I can do to—" He didn't stop. He didn't turn. He didn't punish her with attention. He simply answered while walking past. "Listen and learn." Those 3 words hit harder than any raised voice ever could. Security stepped aside, clearing his path, almost bowing without meaning to. The young witness, the one who had spoken up earliest, gave him a soft, knowing nod. A shared look between 2 people who understood what quiet strength looks like. He nodded back once. Acknowledgement, not gratitude, not superiority, just truth recognizing truth. The elevator pinged. A polished brass door slid open, warm light spilling across the marble. A fitting transition like the building itself, understood he was stepping into the part of the hotel that had always belonged to him. The regional supervisor gestured him inside. "Everything is ready, sir." He stepped in. The doors began to close. And the last thing the lobby saw, the last frame captured in a dozen half-lowered phones, was a man who had never raised his voice, yet carried every inch of authority, like it was built into his very breath. The elevator rose smoothly, humming with a low, steady confidence, almost mirroring the man standing inside it. The regional supervisor kept a respectful distance, hands folded in front of him, eyes fixed on the glowing floor numbers as if afraid to meet the gaze of the person he answered to. A soft chime. The doors slid open. They stepped into a private executive wing, polished walnut walls, quiet carpeting, soft, recessed lighting, a stark contrast to the chaos downstairs. Here, everything felt intentional, controlled, professional. A meeting room waited at the end of the hallway, glass walls frosted for privacy, a long table, 2 corporate representatives already seated, one from HR, one from compliance. Both stood the moment he entered. "Sir," HR said, voice composed but reverent, "thank you for making time. We've reviewed the initial reports and are prepared for your statement." He nodded. "I'm not here to punish," he said. "I'm here to correct." They exchanged glances, relief mixed with responsibility. The compliance officer tapped her tablet. "We've pulled camera footage, lobby angles, audio logs, and staff statements. We'll document everything with transparency." "Good," he replied. "Make sure the staff learns from this. All of them, not just the one who yelled." The HR rep swallowed. "Yes, sir. We understand." He placed the black leather pouch on the table not to flaunt power, but to mark the conversation's weight. The room seemed to adjust around it. Downstairs, the lobby still buzzed with whispers. Upstairs, everything stilled. "What do you want done?" the supervisor finally asked. He considered the question not emotionally, not vindictively, but with the precision of someone who had navigated boardrooms far harsher than this. I want accountability, he said slowly. I want training. I want leadership that recognizes bias before it becomes policy. A beat. And I want this hotel to reflect the standard my name is attached to. Edru, the compliance officer, inhaled, absorbing every word like a directive. It will, she said. He nodded once, calm, final. Because up here, away from the cameras, away from the stairs, away from the woman who tried to throw him out, his authority didn't need proving. It simply existed. The meeting began, and the hotel, for the first time that day, started moving in the right direction. The meeting wrapped quietly, no raised voices, no dramatic exits, just signatures, notes, a mutual understanding that the building would not run the same way tomorrow. When he stepped back into the executive hallway, the evening light had shifted, warm, low, reflecting off the walnut panels like a final curtain sweep. The elevator carried him down in silence. When the doors opened into the lobby again, the atmosphere felt different, not tense, not buzzing, just recalibrated. Staff stood straighter. Guests lowered their voices. The kind of hush that forms when people witness something that changes them a little. The manager was no longer at the counter. The young witness from earlier stood near the lobby chairs. She caught his eye and gave a small, respectful nod. He returned it just a slight tilt of his head. Security stepped aside as he passed, hands clasped behind his back, posture corrected. Near the revolving doors, the city lights waited soft, golden, steady. He paused a moment, letting the breeze slip in from outside. Respect shouldn't depend on knowing someone's title. But today, he had reminded an entire building of what it looks like. As he stepped out onto the sidewalk, his voice was soft, meant only for himself, but felt by the world around him. Dignity, he murmured, is not optional. The door spun shut behind him. Fade to black.